The beginning of the Panthers season, well, at least until January and Matthew Tkachuk comes back, really hinges on this. Which key players are going to be stepping up to help the Panthers fill those big skates? Who is going to be able to put up more goals and more assists? Find out right now on Panthers Digest. What's up, guys? Welcome to this episode of Panthers Digest. I am your host, Greg Andrews. As always, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below because you guys need to stay up to date with anything and everything that is going on with your back-to-back Stanley Cup champion, Florida Panthers. Before I move forward, I want to let you guys know that if you love talking about sports, if you want to be a part of an organization that will allow you to do what you want, have your own YouTube channel, your own show, they will get your brand out there. Go right there, guys. Digest Media is hiring. digestmedia.ca/join us. MLB, NBA, NFL, WWE, MMA, all of those specific sports. If you love those sports or a specific team, join us. They are hiring. They're actively looking for people. Wonderful place to work, guys. You're free to create your own content. It is a lot of fun. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss out on that opportunity. So if you think you've got what it takes and you're super knowledgeable about a specific team or a sport in general, please reach out to them. Tell them you heard it from me, guys. All right, so let's move forward, guys. The Florida Panthers. Matthew Tkachuk is out until at least January. So who is going to step up in his place? Well, I don't think it's going to be one player. No, players. I think there are three guys on this team that really need to turn things up from the beginning of this regular season until Matthew Tkachuk gets back. Obviously, we don't know what is going to happen with this roster, how it's going to shake up when Matthew Tkachuk does return with the LTIR rule changes and the salary cap and all that stuff heading in the playoffs. All of these new things from the CBA that will be implemented this year and not in September of next year. We'll see how things shake out. But as of right now, there are three guys on my book that I think really need to step up. Let's just get into it. Here we go. These are the lines for this upcoming season as it sits today with Matthew Tkachuk out of the lineup. You see Mackie Samoskevich steps up in his place. Number 25 on that second line. So everything for the most part remains the same. Obviously, the fourth line, a little different with Boqvist, Nosek, and Kunin. A little bit different from last year, as well as the third pairing for our defensemen. It's Petrie and Kulikov. No Schmidt. Unfortunately, he was an unrestricted free agent, went elsewhere, but congratulations to him. But anyways, deep. Yes, this team is very, very deep. You will not see a lot of rookies coming up because, well, to get a lot of this made here and get these big names and all that stuff, we had to trade. So we're not the deepest team when it comes to young talent, especially the rookies. One guy who could potentially step up at some point during the season will be Jack Devine. I think if we see somebody go down in the forward position or the centerman position, I know he is not a center, but still, we'll see how they, kind of chessboard this thing up. Who will come up and be the next man up? I think Jack Devine will be the first guy to come up. Test out the rookie, see what he's capable of doing. I know there's a lot of other guys that you guys will probably point out to me. Believe me, I've looked at the roster that's crazy deep. If you actually look on ESPN.com or NHL.com, every single player is listed from rookies to AHL, all of the different leagues that all of our players are in. I'm just trying to move forward right now, but very, very deep team right now with the veterans that are out there. Not a lot of young players that I think we will see come up unless we have a repeat from last season when that last 6 weeks where guys just kept going down and they had to call up one guy after the other to try to come up here and salvage this end of the season and make it into the playoffs. But the three guys for Hagee, Erod, Mackie, Samoskevich has got to really step up this year. I am actually looking for him to probably have the biggest improvements in a season, even though he already had a stellar season last year, which we'll get into in just a moment. But I think he's going to be the one person to really step it up. Young guy, not that big, but still put up tremendous numbers, kind of a mirror image of Rodriguez, just 10 years younger, much younger player. That's why I think a lot of the rumors that are swirling about in terms of Rodriguez, what will happen with him when Matthew Tkachuk returns in January, remains to be seen. but I would say you're probably going to have to see him go. Sam Miskevich will probably step up because younger, not going to cost nearly as much. Erod, 32 years old. You might have to part ways with him to free up some of that room, especially going into the playoffs, because we do have to adhere to salary cap this season. Last year, we were actually $5 million over heading into the playoffs, if you wanted to look at it that way, where there is actually no salary cap heading into the playoffs. So, getting off topic, here we go. Carter Verhaeghe. I think he's going to be one of the guys that is going to have to step up in Matthew Tkachuk's place. Didn't have this stellar season that he normally does. I mean, you could see the numbers here, almost a 20-point drop-off from the previous 2 seasons. Still good numbers, but, wasn't putting up that 30-plus goals in a season. Always averages 30-plus assists in general since he's been a Panther, except that first season. But his shooting percentage went down as well, about 5 percentage points there. So I see him taking a bigger role, especially because he's going to be bumped up, I believe, into the power play to take Tkachuk's position. But his numbers, I believe, will go up. I think he'll go back into that 30 goals in the season, stick with that 30-plus assists, and he'll have somewhere around the upper 60s, low 70s for his point total at the end of the season. In the playoffs, obviously, he always steps up his game. He was a plus 12 last season. Previous season, which is remarkable to look at with 11 goals and 10 assists, that he was -5 with his plus-minus, but still stepped it up. Look, each season in the playoffs for the Panthers has had a dramatic increase. I don't care if you think that 2 points is not that much from the first Stanley Cup to the second. It is still a big increase. Just look at the difference in what he was able to do. But stuck to those good shooting percentages at that 13-14% mark. So, next man up, Evan Rodrigues. I see an opportunistic thing for Evan Rodrigues here, and I'm going to try to be optimistic about Matthew Tkachuk being out right now. I see Evan Rodrigues and Mackie Samoskevich having the 2 biggest opportunities to really showcase their game, to step up and say, hey, I deserve to be here. Or, again, I don't want to see Evan Rodrigues leave. I really don't. But I hate to say that with his $3.5 million, he's going to have to be one of those guys to go when Tkachuk does come back, because they do have to become cap compliant, especially in the playoffs as well. But his numbers have been solid in the regular season. But the guy who mirrors him is Mackie Samoskevich. And for the price tag that we signed him, and 21, 22 years old, you've got to go with the younger player who's the up-and-comer. They skate very similar style of play. Body style is very similar, around that 5'11", 180, 190 pounds. So, you're going to have to see Evan Rodrigues go. I hate to say it. His playoff numbers have been pretty solid too. Good year last year. I still think if he plays great, again, I'm putting an opportunistic spin on this, the Panthers don't have a lot of superior young talent. I said Jack Devine is probably the one guy right now that is the newcomer that I could see him playing not significant time like Mackie Samoskevich did last season, but I can see him coming in and helping out when a guy needs a rest or a player does go down with an injury. He will be the guy that gets called upon. Obviously, he's not a defender, so it will be forward or centerman. I know he's not a center, but still, you never know how they might move pieces around just to give him the playing time. But Evan Rodrigues, if he has a great start to his season, and I've said this before, get some draft capital for him. The team is built to win now, I get it, but they do have to start thinking about the future at some point. I don't see the door closing probably till about year 4 into this, let's call it 5-year experiment until 2030 to see how many Stanley Cups can the team win. But where can they get draft capital from? I think Evan Rodrigues will be that guy, because you're obviously not going to trade away Mackie Samoskevich. Has got tons of talent, great skater, a quiet 2-way player, but a very good one nonetheless, put up solid numbers. Not the biggest guy, but he's got great hands. He is a sniper, wicked wrist shot. Even his one-timer is fantastic, man. I mean, we saw some great shots from him last season. And like I said, the numbers are almost identical to Evan Rodrigues. Here are his regular season numbers. 15 and 16, 31 points. Here, I will go back and show you. Oh, here we go. Evan Rodrigues. He had 32 points. Mackie Samoskevich, 31 points. The numbers are almost mirror images of one another. except Mackie Samoskevich, has a little bit better of a shooting percentage. So very similar guys. Yes, the plus minus is -4. All right, so be it. -4 for Evan Rodrigues. I don't even need to show you his numbers in the playoffs because didn't really do much. I believe he just had 1 assist. But I wanted to show you guys a little bit more about just looking at these guys back to back to back here. All right, Carter Verhaeghe always can turn up his game when needed, and the playoffs is usually when it happens, just like it is for most of these guys. And this team is more about, let's just make the playoffs. We don't need to necessarily be the first seed. Let's just get in, and then we'll start kicking everybody's butt once we get out there. And that's essentially what happened last season. They didn't care about trying to be the first seed. Obviously, they wanted to win it, but injuries plagued them at the end of the season. They dropped in the standings in the Atlantic Division, were third at the end of the season, but it is what it is. Who cares? They won the Stanley Cup. So there's Carter Verhaeghe's numbers. Not bad. 53 points in the season. Shots were down, I'm not going to say significantly, but he definitely shot less than he did in previous seasons. I mean, if you want me to, I can go back, but I'm not going to now. I don't want to go too long in this episode. But plus minus and -14, I think he could have done better. But almost 18 minutes of time on ice. Critical two-way player. 6'2". A lot of people don't think he's that big, but he is bigger than he is perceived to be. And then here we are, Evan Rodrigues. I'm going to go back and forth with these. So he's got 161 shots. Mackie Samoskevich had 129. Rodrigues played 82 games. Mackie Samoskevich played 10 less at 72. So you tell me, which guy would you rather keep here? The guy who gives a puck away 62 times or one that does 46? He had more takeaways, obviously, but also Mackie Samoskevich had 13 minutes and 19 seconds time on ice average during the regular season compared to 15, and Mackie Samoskevich played fewer games and put up those kind of numbers. Imagine if he did have 10 more games under his belt. I would say he probably would have hit 20 goals in the season, 20 plus assists. He could have had a 40 plus point season. Easily. So, again, similar size, similar stature. Everything about these guys is very, very similar. So, the end of the day, the question is going to be, well, who really is going to step up the most? Who is going to turn their game around? I see it being probably Mackie Samoskevich, number 1. Younger talent, really has something to prove because he's going to be playing for a contract this upcoming season. Remember, he signed a low deal to stay on the team because I think he wants to win. He wants to learn from these guys. He likes the coaching staff here. He was drafted by us. So I see him having the biggest improvement this season. Cross our fingers, guys. And then it's going to be Carter Verhaeghe because he will be on the power play, and that is a big part of his game. Where he scored a lot of his goals in the past was being on the power play, being a part of that, and they switched it last season. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited for the Cats this year. Tkachuk, it's a bummer that he's out because of everything that he brings from the game behind the game, which is that cerebral aspect of it, that high hockey IQ, the physical nature and style of play that he has. Great two-way player. Throws the puck at the net all the time. That's why he has a ton of shots every season. That's why he usually scores pretty decent amount of goals every year. 30 plus goals in a season. It's happened a lot for him. I mean, we only had one 30-plus goal scorer last season, but hey, who cares? You know what? It was a collective effort. It always is with this team. I see it doing the same thing, but I think we're going to have more than just one 30-goal scorer this season. And I think we'll have probably 2 or 3 of them this year. I see a lot bigger things happening. Like I said, I could see Samoskevich doing that. I could see Verhaeghe doing that. I see Reinhart doing that. Maybe you see Bennett doing it with his new contract, his bright, new, shiny, big contract that he just signed. Let's see how he ends up stepping up in the regular season. But anyways, guys, those are the 3 guys I think need to step up big time to fill the skates that will be missing from Matthew Tkachuk. But hopefully he will come back better than ever, nice and healthy, look like the Matthew Tkachuk of old, even though last season in the postseason, he looked pretty good, even though there were a lot of times he wasn't skating his ass off. He looked a little bit more lethargic. He was being a little careful to not, I think he was definitely in some pain. He was being careful out there at times when you see him kind of standing around. But anyways, guys, thank you for joining me on this episode of Panthers Digest. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below, comment, like, and share. Again, if there's anything you guys want me to talk about or research, bring up on the next episode, please do not hesitate to comment down below. And keep your eyes out for the next episode. I will be looking ahead at this upcoming season, kind of looking back a little bit, but looking more ahead of what to expect from the Florida Panthers in terms of their pursuit of their third consecutive Stanley Cup, first team to do it since the Islanders in the 80s, and first team to do it in the salary cap era. So guys, thank you so much again for joining me. I will see you guys next time, and go